Clearances. The other panelist, Professor S.R. Keshav sir from Bangalore University, Professor T.S. Bagalkoti sir, Registrar, Haveri University, and Dr. Shreekanth Deshpande sir, who is trustee of Deshpande Foundation. I invite you all to this panel discussion, sir. Please occupy your seats. Sir, guest by giving a flower bouquet to our honorable guest. I request Dr. Dundappa to give bouquet and invite our guest, Dr. Shreekanth Deshpande sir. And in the line, I request Dr. Jai Prabhakar sir to invite Professor S.R. Keshav sir by giving bouquet. And I take this opportunity to invite Dr. Narayan Billava, faculty of CMDR, to invite Professor T.S. Bagal. Sir, Professor M.R. Narayan sir, we are inviting once again by giving digital bouquet. Please accept, sir. Thank you, sir. So now, honorable panelists on the dais, as well as the experienced researchers and budding researchers and faculty members and development professionals of the dais. The topic of today's panel discussion is economic growth and global competitiveness. So when we talk of this economic growth, since during my initial words yesterday, I was mentioning about the growth of the last decade, but it was corrected by Professor Bhimrai Maitri sir, Director IIM Nagpur. Since last more than 30 years, the growth rate of Indian GDP is consistent, more than 7%. So when we look back into how this change is happening, how India became world's 5th largest economy and it is supposed to occupy 3rd position shortly. So how these changes are happening over a period of time? The resources were same, the human beings are same, human resources as well as natural resources, everything that is same, but there is some change that is happening. And what are the driving factors behind this change? So that was the basic objective with which we started discussing about. So in which the global competitiveness of the India has increased over a period of time. And what are the driving factors for this? So just we'll be interested to understand all these things, for which we have 4 distinguished panelists with us. Let me take this opportunity to introduce all the 4 panelists. Let me begin with Professor M.R. Narayan sir, who is one of the senior most faculty. Professor M.R. Narayan sir is an esteemed economist with over 3 decades of experience in teaching research. Since 2018, he has been associated with the Fiscal Policy Institute of Government of Karnataka. Previously, he was a professor of ISEC Bangalore, 1996 to 2017. He was and held visiting professorship at the University of Tokyo, University of Victoria, and University of Mysore under Planning Commission chair. His research focus is on applied macroeconomics, national transfer accounts, demographic dividends, fiscal policy, and social sector financing. So he has guided 19 PhDs and 2 MPhil scholars, mentored researchers, and published more than 250 research papers in national and international journals. So Professor Narayan sir has received prestigious fellowship from USA, China, Japan, Canada, reflecting his global academic impact. So this is a brief introduction about our one of the panelists, Professor M.R. Narayan sir. Let me come to Professor S.R. Keshav sir. Professor S.R. Keshav is the chairperson of Postgraduate Department of Economics at Bangalore University with over 27 years of experience in teaching, research, and academic leadership. The best thing that we as academicians and teachers for all of us is he has been honored with the National Teacher Award 2024 by the President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmu. Very few faculty members get this opportunity. Professor S.R. Keshav is one of them. We are lucky to have him on this particular panel. Sir has authored more than 119 research papers, 3 volumes of edited books, number of things that are in his credit. He has guided postdoctoral fellows, 1 postdoctoral fellow, 6 PhD scholars, 25 MPhil scholars. Professor Keshav has delivered over 308 invited talks. This speaks of his academic caliber, and chaired 39 technical sessions and participated in 305 television programs on economic policy discussions. So he has received prestigious awards including Lifetime Achievement Award in 2021, Distinguished Economist Award in 2021 and 2022. He also serves as an Executive Council member of Central University of Kerala and a resource person in Karnataka Economic Survey. This is in brief about Professor S.R. Keshav. So we have Professor S.T. Bagalkoti sir with us. As far as CMDR is concerned, Professor S.T. Bagalkoti sir is part of our team that we can say proudly, because whenever we request for any sort of help or support, sir is ready all the time. So Professor S.T. Bagalkoti sir is a Registrar and Finance Officer, and he was the Registrar Evaluation at Haveri University. Previously, he was the Professor of Karnataka University, Dharwad, where he also served as the Chairman of the Department of Economics and Director of IQAC. With expertise in agricultural and environmental economics and with a public policy, he has successfully guided 21 PhDs and 8 MPhil scholars and completed 16 research projects funded by the World Bank, European Union, UGC and ICSSR. He has contributed to the textbook revisions of Karnataka and held leadership roles in professional associations. His administrative and research contributions have significantly shaped the academia and as well as policy. Number of his students are working in different parts of the country as well as the state. Dr. Shreekanth Deshpande, so what should I call him? I don't feel calling him as a sir because he is my elder brother, that I can say proudly. Dr. Shreekanth Deshpande is a trustee of Deshpande Education Trust, Hubli, a leading skill development center in India, and the unit of Deshpande Foundation, founded by Dr. Gurraj Deshpande and Dr. Jayashree Deshpande. He holds MBA in Production and Marketing and a BE in Mechanical Engineering and certifications in PMP and CSQA. In 2024, he earned PhD in Green Supply Chain Management from Mysore University, focusing on green supply chain management, corporate social responsibility, dairy sub-products and recycling. With 24 years of industry experience in seamless steel tube manufacturing and software sectors, he has worked with clients across the countries like USA, UK, UAE and other regions in customer relationship management, banking and manufacturing. As an active researcher, he has published in Scopus UGC indexed journals. He also has been adjunct faculty at the Christ University, Bangalore. So this is in brief about Dr. Shreekanth Deshpande ji. So we are fortunate to have all the 4 distinguished panelists for this discussion on economic growth and global competitiveness. To begin with, the structure of this panel discussion is going to be, so I'll be beginning with a question, and each panelist will be given 5 minutes to express their views. So then we will open the discussion for the audience, as well as I am also having a set of questions, sir. So the first thing goes to Dr. M.R. Narayan, sir. Sir, how has India's position in the global competitiveness index?
Please hold the microphone closer to your mouth.
Okay, sir. Is it audible, sir, now? Okay. How has India's position in global competitiveness index evolved over past decade, and what key factors have contributed to this change? So now I request you to open this discussion with this question and give your opinion. The voice is not clear, sir? So, am I audible now, sir?
Better.
Okay. How has India's position in the global competitive index has evolved over past decade, and what key factors have contributed to this change? With this, I want your initial remarks for 5 minutes, sir. Sir, just you see your chat box, sir. Sir, chat box ಅಲ್ಲಿ question ಇದೆ.
Yes.
You got the question, sir?
May I speak?
Yes, sir. Now it is your time for 5 minutes, sir. Telephone number. Yes, sir. You can start now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for sending the question in a typewritten format because so our target to reach the global competitiveness is Singapore. Singapore is the top ranking country in the world. There are four important components which make a country competitive and to be top on the international ranking. The first is economic performance. Second one is government efficiency. Third is business efficiency. And fourth one is infrastructure. If I look at India's performance vis-a-vis Singapore, our poor competitiveness is evident in infrastructure because our score is only 31.1 as compared to Singapore's 77.1. In the same way, economic performance comes next in the low performance, and I think government efficiency is also a major contributing factor for our low efficiency. I also bring to the notice of the audience there that we have the World Economic Forum's construction of global competitiveness index. For example, if I look at the report of 2019, India was ranked 68th among 141 countries in the world. And India's score was only about 61.4. And if I look again, Singapore in that ranking, it is top ranked and the total score is about 84.8. Look at the gap between us and the top ranking country in the world, and that actually gives a signal how to improve our competitiveness among the nations in the world. And let me also add one more point. There are four pillars of competitiveness as far as the global competitiveness index is concerned. One is the enabling environment, markets, human capital, and innovation ecosystem. For lack of time, I don't get into the further details. I only want to emphasize that all these indices give us information where exactly we have to concentrate on improving our competitiveness to be globally competitive and to be on the top of the world. I stop here.
Thank you, sir. So now I take this opportunity to request Professor T.S. Bagalkoti, sir. Sir, uh, uh, what are the strategies should India adopt to increase its export competitiveness beyond its traditional sectors? I request you to, sir, begin your discussion with this point. So now the time is yours.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Basaprabhu Jirudi, all the esteemed panelists, distinguished invitees, and ladies and gentlemen. The question posed is the strategies for improving the global competitiveness of India. I beg to digress in this particular juncture because when we talk of competitiveness, we always think of exports, FDI, national comparative advantage, etc. But I basically feel that national growth is a sum total of the growth of its constituent regions. It is states, districts, talukas, and even the villages. Hence, the competitiveness has to be scaled down to the local level to understand it more better and also to enable that the competitiveness at the national level, it percolates to the local level also. Beg to digress is that I just want to place before you the discussions that are going on in the Committee on Redressal of Regional Imbalances, which we are working for Karnataka. As we know, Karnataka is the second most prosperous state in terms of gross state domestic product, and the fourth state in terms of the per capita SDP. But you look at the states, districts with different GDP levels, only 4 districts are above the state average, whereas the remaining are below the state average. And again, if you look at across the sectors, agriculture has almost come down to 9%. Manufacturing has stagnated to around 20 to 25%, and it's only service sector which is dominating. Now, why I am mentioning this in the context of competitiveness? Competitiveness ultimately is the productivity with which we are working upon. Productivity is not merely the more output per unit of resource, but I define it as more value per resource. And more than that, the farm level and firm level decisions, they are made locally. Hence, local level competitiveness is to be focused in an equal manner as with the global or national competitiveness. Unless we are producing competitively at local level, we cannot think of enhancing our competitiveness at the global or national level. And more than that, talking of the disparity framework, in Karnataka, to be very specific, Bangalore urban, Dakshin Kannada, Udupi and Chikmagalur. These districts are galloping, and the districts like Shimoga, even Dharwad, Mandya, which enjoyed higher than the average per capita state product, they have now come below that. Now, why it has happened? Why have some of the prosperous states have become backward, and why the growth is concentrated only in few pockets of the state? Now, this is because the growth is service sector driven, and wherever agriculture is predominant occupation, the growth rate has come down, and they have remained backward. So, if you look at some of the later works, in fact, Dr. Anjanaba committee did a seminal work on this, and later on CMDR also contributed towards this, and even Karnataka Evaluation Authority also has done some work on how the positioning of different regions has happened in our state, and there is very little transitioning, and only few districts, few talukas have surged ahead, majority of them have remained backward. Now, why this has happened? Because we have failed to look at the comparative advantage, which again speaks of competitiveness, the comparative advantage of each of the constituent regions. Now, we need to identify what are the growth possibilities, growth potentialities, and growth constraints in each of the constituent regions, especially at the taluka level. That's what we are doing now. We are analyzing the data at the taluka level and trying to identify the growth constraints and possibilities at the taluka level, and what could be the institutions, what could be the policy recommendations for enhancing the competitiveness. In fact, I have a whole list of mechanisms for different activities. In fact, I had focused on enhancing the rural competitiveness, because as I mentioned earlier, it is those regions which are predominantly rural, they are backward. Or to put it in other words, the urban sector is flourishing. The growth is concentrated, or it is polarized in urban areas. So if urban areas are doing better, what could be done to improve the growth in, or the comparative advantage of rural areas, or competitiveness of rural areas? In fact, the agriculture is declining, the rural cottage industry is declining, there is a lot of migration or drain happening from the rural areas. So what could be done to improve the competitiveness or comparative advantage of rural areas? That has to be thought of. In fact, I have a whole list of activities which can be done, which I can take up in during discussions. So my focus point is that we need to scale down competitiveness to the local levels, identify the comparative advantage of the regions, try to identify why the region is growing faster, why it is remaining backward, and based on that, make policies which are relevant for the local growth, the regional growth, national growth, as well as the global growth. And ultimately, at last, I want to say that India has become a very, very prominent country. India's growth is very vital for not only India, but to the whole humanity. And if India does good, then the world itself will also do good. But again, I personally don't expect India does good in parts, in sectors, in places. The growth has to percolate to all the regions. For this purpose, the local comparative advantage and local competitiveness has to be developed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think this was the view of Gandhiji also. He was emphasizing on production by masses instead of mass production. So I think China has adopted this model of small scale as well as cottage industries. So these things were flourishing in our country, but over a period of time, we are losing control over that. So in which skill plays an important role. Our Honorable Prime Minister also keeps on telling about skill, upskilling, reskilling, and all these are the continuous processes. So we have another panelist from Deshpande Foundation, which is focusing on the skill. Sir, now I would like to put a question before you. How India is addressing the skill gap to meet the demands of an increasingly technology-driven global economy? With this, I want to have your introductory remarks, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu, sir. And good afternoon to all the dignitaries of the dais, on the dais, and all the invitees and participants. So I'll just try to connect the today's topic, that is the economic growth and the global competitiveness. So basically we say that the growth and the competitiveness are interlinked, and each one of them, they complement each other. So basically when a country achieves a good economic growth, the surplus capital that is generated is put into research and development activities, which leads to better productivity. As Bagalkoti sir said, productivity leads to better quality and reduced cost. That helps to build the competitiveness, and we become competitive both in national and international markets. So there are multiple players who influence economic growth and competitiveness. Majorly, it is done by the business houses, government, the export and import markets. But social organizations also play an important role to bring about change in different areas like health, education, sanitation, even technology also. So Deshpande Foundation is founded by, I'm proud to say that my brother and my bhabi, based out of Hubli. And they have three verticals. One is focused on agriculture, where one of the flagship project is the farm ponds. The second is startups, where they help the young entrepreneurs by providing incubation center. And the third one is DET, where I'm a trustee, which is called Deshpande Education Trust, where the main focus is on skilling. So, as we know, India is a country of villages. We have nearly 6.4 lakh villages, and 64% of the population lies there. So, one of the findings is that this huge population which lie in villages have to join the main workforce, because although we are an agriculture country, all those people cannot be employed by the agriculture sector. So, Deshpande Education Trust has one aim, basically to serve the underprivileged in the rural market. So, when we did some research on the rural public, especially the youths, we found that they don't have a proper education, and they feel so helpless that they cannot think of a good future. They don't know where to start building their career. So, as once our famous ex-president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam said, we have to first dream in order to realize the dream. First, we have to make them dream of a good future. Later on, give them good skill sets that will help them join the main work stream in the industrial workforce. So, Deshpande Education Trust has flagship programs where they identify rural youths, give them a training for 3 to 4 months on different areas like English, communication, analytical skills, and as Sir said, what are the technological tools we use there also. So basically, we also train them on Tally, which is a very popular accounting software, and they are exposed to MOOC software, where online education is given to them. So they are exposed to MOOCs before they come to the classroom sessions, and they are exposed to the ERP systems, enterprise resource planning systems, which are used by most of the companies either in banks or manufacturing. So they get ready with all these skill sets, and finally, we give them training on AI-enabled interview-facing applications. So each of the students who are either 10th pass, 12th pass, or graduates, they face this AI-based interview app. They can take 10 to 12 different mock interviews, get ready to face the interview. So they become successful. So as of now, over the last 15 years, the DET has trained about 20,000 students. Approximately 80% is the placement rate, and they get a campus placement over in the range of 2.5 to 4 lakhs per annum jobs. So if I just want to correlate this with the economic growth, even assuming 4 lakhs per annum average salary and 20,000 students getting a job, it leads to 800 crores of economy per year. So that is the way how social work organizations can contribute. And also it was identified that if these rural youths can be given an intervention in the earlier stage, it will help them. So SIV is another program started, Skill in a Village, where in villages, the training is given on English and communication for students, high school students, and in the primary, they are given training in a program called Early Spark. So starting from the first standard till the degree, they have an intervention where they are given skills that are required by today's technology-driven companies where they can get jobs. So this is what I have to say, so that the rural youths also come into the mainstream and start contributing to the economy. Thank you.
We could observe that the paradigm of skill has changed now. Earlier it was the family-based professions, but now it is shifting towards IT-based skills, for which we need policy interventions, appropriate policy interventions. So now my next question to Professor S.R. Keshav sir is, because sir has a wide experience and looking into his profile, what policy reforms would you prioritize to improve India's ease of doing business rankings further, so that wherein we can take up all this, as Professor Bagalkoti sir said and as Professor Dr. Deshpande sir said, how we can accommodate these things in our policy inputs. So over to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation, and fellow panelists. Indeed, Right now, ease of doing business has been discontinued by the World Bank from 2020 onwards. Last was in 2019, where India had 63rd rank. But anyhow, whether they discontinue it or not, the central government is trying to ease doing business in India, and right now we have a business reform action plan, which has been implemented across over the years. And in case if you want to see the present budget, that's of 25-26, wherein you can see a lot of reforms which induces the business to do well. Say, for example, the fast-track regulatory approvals which has come out in this budget, and even 100 business laws decriminalizing them. That's one of the another important thing. And access of the credit to the MSME, and even making them globally competitive. Many initiatives even in this budget also you can find it. And of course, on the one hand, trying to ease out doing business for the entrepreneurs, and on the other hand, trying to give money, save the money in the hands of the public also, so that they demand these goods. Both the ways they are trying to do. The central government has a concrete plan for this. That is the reason probably why when calibrating the income tax reforms and trying to see that 1 trillion rupees is saved with them, so that disposable income will increase, so that they can demand, and even initially from the domestic, there will be higher demand in that context. And of course, the Atmanirbhar Bharat is there, production-linked incentive schemes are there. So all this are helping for the ease of doing business in this country. But one thing is always there. With all this, what is that we could achieve till now? Because we are speaking of the Vikasit Bharat, and minimum of 10% to 8% plus growth for 10 to 15 years is required. So if that is required, then probably the initial big push is required, probably which government is trying in the coming days to come. But why I'm saying this, because in case if you see the exports and imports of the India, despite all this, it's not of the extent. We can just say it has doubled. Say in case if you want to see the exports, you can say it has doubled. Fine. In case of imports also, it has doubled. But to what extent are we contributing? 2.4% of the world exports is with India. In case, even with the case of imports also, it comes to around 2.9%. At the same time, one is in case if we retrospect and introspect ourselves, where are we heading to? So that probably we can learn the lessons from what the other countries have done. Says, I can take the example of China, because China is the one country where I can think that India should be compared to and not any other countries. And even despite all the differences of political administration, China last year, 2024, its surplus itself, the net trade was around close to $1 trillion. And we are just trying to attempt to be a $5 trillion economy. So this is where exactly we have to have a big push or a big investment leap in the terms of each and every terms. It is not just shocks that which is required now. It is more of the incentives in a big leap that is required. And in case if we do that, then the things will hold good for the India. Despite all these actions, despite all the noble initiatives done by the government of India, still the economy, that is the reason that why, recent headline of a newspaper editorial was telling us, elephant and dragon can dance together. So probably, this is where whether we can dance together or not, at least, we can learn the lessons from them, because we know they are not the one who can always rely on, but we can learn the lessons from them of how exactly they did. In case of FDI also, when they allowed the FDI, they allowed it only in the pockets where it was required, and in very few segments. Only when the domestic sector became more competitive enough to face the other sectors, only then they allowed it. Probably this, one of it, probably we can also follow it, and many of the things, especially the huge investment in the human capital, that's number one, and the huge investment in the health sector. So all this will also contribute. Many of the jobs are there, and now we are speaking of the AI, blockchain technology, but probably China started it in 2000. At least we are 20 years late. In our budget documents, it started after 2000. So probably that is where we have to catch early, anyhow, better late than never. India has started it, but a big bang is required. Hope it will happen very soon. So with this initial remarks, I will stop.
So for all the four panelists, so the forum is open for the audience. You can also put your questions related to the economic growth and global competitiveness to our panelists. So till you can frame your questions, I may take this opportunity to put another question a common question to all the four panelists, because sir, you were talking about that business reforms action plan, or the skilling, or the primary sector production. We were talking of imports and exports. In agricultural sector, one important irony that what we are observing is, India is the world's largest producer of pulses. On the contrary, we are the world's largest importer of pulses also. The same case with the oil seeds. So in this kind of situation, so there are some questions that we need to answer, number one. Number two, employability of our students who are coming out from various educational institutions is another issue. So in that context, so what kind of educational system that what we should adopt so that we can achieve that global competitiveness or the economic growth simultaneously? So, Professor M.R. Narayan, sir, you want to share your views? Yeah, I will text that, sir. By the time you can respond.
Sir, with respect to the production of pulses, oil seeds, and the huge demand within the country, and therefore the compulsion to import them, which is a reality, and because of which, of course, the food inflation sprung up in the recent past. The main reason for this is pulses and oilseeds are mainly grown in dry land areas, or in other words, rain-fed areas, where the resource base is quite fragile. It's first of all rain dependent, vulnerable to all kinds of weather shocks, and basically the farmers are quite poor with small and fragmented holdings, unable to adopt new technologies, which is known to everyone. I'm saying nothing new here. Though there were technology missions on oil seeds, pulses, etc., but that again did not reach the people. And the revolution which happened in case of cereals did not happen in case of pulses. And that's the reason why the pulse production did not pick up. And wherever the irrigation was extended, the land which was earlier used to grow pulses and oil seeds shifted to the water intensive crops like sugarcane, paddy, and of course now areca nut, etc., because of which the shortage continues. And now here some specific programs are needed, and fortunately in this budget again, a lot of incentives have been under the PM Krishi Dhananya Yojana. Things are announced for making high yielding seeds and climate resilient seeds in case of oil seeds and pulses. And maybe with the technological push that is being given, we hope that the pressure on pulses and oil seeds would be eased, and the domestic production would increase. So basically here, the farmers have to be incentivized to diversify their cropping towards pulses and oil seeds.
Okay. So I'll take the question on that, the difference in the skill set where our students who come out of the colleges, they are not employable. So basically the education has been traditionally designed to impart knowledge, but there is a gap in the skill set required for the graduates and the companies they look for employees. So generally this gap is made up by so-called finishing schools, where the additional skill that is required in terms of communication skill, analytical skills, and then in recent times the computer knowledge is made up by the finishing schools. So our organization, that is DET, identified this, and in consultation with the private colleges and government colleges, now the Skill Plus is also expanded to 75 colleges in Karnataka and Telangana. And in the evening hours between 3 to 5, the students voluntarily come forward and they pay some fees. It is not free. There's some fees and then they get trained on these employable skills. So this experiment has been started over the last 3 to 4 years now. We are finding a lot of good results. And now there are discussion with even Haveri University also. Sir is there with us now. So this particular experiment will be expanded to other colleges so that the scaling up of our skilling program takes up. Thank you.
Yeah, with reference to pulses, yes, as Bagalkoti sir was rightly pointing it out, in this budget also they have attempted with 100 aspirational districts, for the first time, generally they think of irrigated lands, but for the first time this budget is thinking of the dry land, identifying the 100 backward districts where the dry land is high, so that these kinds of initiatives of growing pulses and the other essential commodities are required. So probably that's a first step in having the surplus in the food, in the pulses also. And the another important thing is, as these farmers depend on the monsoons, and monsoons always are very uncertain, like our present political situation across the world. So that uncertainty also will be there in the agriculture, and hence it becomes very difficult for the farmers to grow pulses in the abundant way. With reference to the education, our education, except this NEP 2020, before NEP, even that also in the implementation we are not successful. In case before NEP 2020, I see at least 25, our syllabus was 25 years behind than what the market required. We were teaching something to the students and the market required something. It is applicable both to the science as well as the arts, equally, of course, even to the commerce. And what exactly are we making our students future ready? We are just saying, this job right now is there, so you go to prepare. By the time he comes after 3 years or after 5 years after completing your graduation or post-graduation, by then, his education would have been redundant. Whatever he has gained will become redundant. Are we making them future ready? Are we making them very curious to understand the critical thinking or problem solving, even without knowing what will be the future? So in case if we can do that, then the problem will be solved. Otherwise, in case if we say, okay, AI is the one which will be there for another 5 years, you start, this year, in case if you see the admission, all the engineering colleges have moved towards AI. They have converted their seats and have filled it as AI. So what will be there after 5 years? Whether, saturation of AI and something else. So are we making our graduates future ready? That is one important thing. And even, in the dark, keeping them, in the dark also, whether they are able to solve the problems with that critical thinking, even given the unknown situation. Now, we are just trying to teach them, these are the situation, you go in this. Unknown situation, whether they can navigate. If we can make our students ready with that, probably NEP 2020 tried with that, incorporating STEM, incorporating the critical thinking in the syllabus. All these aspects did try, but of course, there are the issues that which all of us know. Teachers first should be trained. NEP 2020 came and the teachers again started with their own syllabus. I'm very good in one, I prepare the syllabus which I know, that should not happen, which the market require and what exactly to make the future ready. So if at all, if we don't do it, then again, any good policy also, we also are responsible for the failure of our students.
So now let us move to Professor M.R. Narayan, sir. Plus, sir, please your views on this question. Sir, the question was posted on the chat box. We want to have your views on this. Yes, sir.
Shall I speak? Okay. Well, I wish I could share some slides in order to justify this point. Is it permissible? Yes, sure. I will share a few slides, okay? Come. ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮುಂದೆ 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 ಓಕೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ well being rise is on the educational system, and to link the educational reforms to economic growth and the competitiveness. I want to put forward an argument of reforming the educational system to be skill-based from the perspective of maximizing economic growth and also enhancing the competitiveness. The argument that I would like to place here is grounded on the economic theory of the demographic dividends. I think many people in the audience must be quite young and youthful and also working adults. Therefore, it is important for us to emphasize how they contribute to growth and resulting in competitiveness of the Indian economy. Next slide. I wish to draw everyone's attention here about the changing structure of India's population from 2020 through 2050, which is the mid of this century. Please observe that throughout this period, we are going to have the highest share of people who are going to be in the working ages. And we have put that age group as 25 and 60. Correspondingly, we have the young people, children and youth who are going to decline in their share of India's population. Please look very carefully. But if we want to maximize the returns of investing on people in terms of dividend, I think the priority should now be given to the children and to the youth. This is the size of the age structure that we're going to have. Next one. And look, we are going to have 700 million people who are going to be in the working ages. Okay, and the corresponding decline of the child population is also evident. Next one. Okay. Now, okay. And this is the link between the skill-based education and economic growth and the resulting competitiveness. I'm sorry, I have to explain this in terms of a few equations because that is the only way I can be precise and convey the essential meaning of that. All of us know that the per capita income, total income of the nation divided by the total population in equation 1 on the left-hand side can be expressed as a product of labor productivity, output per labor, and also multiplied by what is called working population. Work participation rate is what we call in official statistics. This is the share of the employed to the total population. I can explain that in terms of the growth rate of equation 2, which is very simple. But what is to be noted there is the growth of income per capita is equivalent to the growth of labor productivity plus the growth of work participation rate. Ladies and gentlemen, please look at the growth rate of the work participation rate. This is not equivalent to the work participation rate of the census. This is not equivalent to the work participation of periodic labor force survey conducted by the NSS board. This is something quite different. What is different here is the labor force is actually what we call the effective number of producers. And that is where the question of educational reforms to be skill-based, resulting in growth and competitiveness can be linked here. The effective number of producers is what we want to produce in this country through the educational system and training systems. And what does this effective number of producers mean is we have the population at specific ages in different years, but we also have the labor productivity profile, which is age-based. What does anyone produce in this country at what age? At age 0, at age 6, at age 14, at age 80 or 90. So we have to construct the age productivity profile to be multiplying the age-specific population in different years to obtain the effective number of producers. In the same way, we have the age-specific consumption profile multiplied by total population to give the effective number of consumers. Now the question is the following. Suppose I take the ratio of the effective number of producers to the effective number of consumers. That is actually what is called the economic support ratio, which is quite different from the demographic dependency ratios. We are now looking for India to grow in the following way. Age structured transition in the population will interact with labor productivity and bring changes in the economic support ratio. As long as the economic support ratio grows, there will be demand on investing on people, including skill-based education, resulting in growth. How it does? Next slide. I have only one slide to show. Next slide. Okay. This is how we have calculated from year 2020 to 2050. This is the economic support ratio of effective number of producers to effective number of consumers growing over the years. But the growth rate of that is the following. The growth rate of the economic support ratio actually declines because of the age structure transition. Thank God, we have not reached a stage in this period where the growth rate of this economic support ratio is 0, which means the population aging stops, and the ill effects of population aging must be challenged by the productivity growth of the economy. Now, what is the lesson from this model is, the question being raised is what should be the education in order to make the graduates employable? It should be skill-based, accompanied by investing in people in terms of health and other ingredients of human development. And then only we will be able to generate good number of effective number of producers in relation to effective number of consumers and keep the growth rate of economic ratio growing and the economy is growing. Therefore, my argument is skill-based education which contribute to the productivity. And productivity is the most important determinant apart from cost, the competitiveness. And it is the competitiveness which will ultimately show us how to grow, where to go, and how to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now over to audience, if you please ask any questions, if any. Yeah, please. Do we have mic?
Sir, I have a question regarding what role can innovation and entrepreneurship can play for driving economic growth, and how as a policy makers will help in building innovative ecosystem, and will it has an impact on the regional imbalance? Thank you.
In fact, the question focuses on how to promote innovation and entrepreneurship in the context of regional disparities, and what kind of innovation ecosystem should be created. As has already been repeated in earlier sessions and also by Professor M.R. Narayan and by Dr. Shreekanth. Unless our curriculum becomes or focuses on creative thinking, unless we make our students innovative, we will not be able to increase the number of producers, as was being pointed out by Professor M.R. Narayana. And for the enhancing competitiveness either of the regions or of the nation, innovation is very, very crucial. And for this purpose, the policy required is investment in research and development. Of course, education is the first, creation of human capital. But second one is increased investment in research and development. Unfortunately, in India, if you take the expenditure on research by government, it hovers around 0.7% of GDP compared to nearly 2.1% in Korea, China, etc. And even in Japan also, almost 1/3 of what is being done in other countries. So that has to be done. And basically, the private sector has to rope in. Now we are talking more of the private-public participation in various activities, and in research and development, that has to happen. And again, if you look at the composition of that research expenditure, the private contribution is very, very low in our country. And when I say, or when we say innovation ecosystem, it is the kind of laboratories that we set up. It's the kind of facilities that we create for innovators. It may be an incubator that has been set up. It may be the way how we convert it into a business proposition. It may be the way how we improve the ease of doing business for them to enter into the business, start producing and start marketing directly. All these things have to be taken care of. And for this purpose, every government has to work out, either it is the local governments or the state government or the national government for that matter. And one reason or why I linked it to regional imbalances, the whole issue why I linked it to regional imbalances is, as I mentioned, the growth in Karnataka is concentrated in a few pockets. In fact, Bangalore urban contributes more than 60% to our gross state domestic product. So if you remove Bangalore, our per capita income will be somewhere comparable to Mali, Somalia, such other very poor countries. So it is the Bangalore. Then how could Bangalore grow? Because an ecosystem was created way back in 2000s by creating IT or what we call as the electronic city and IT parks, etc. So the same thing will not happen, or it cannot be repeated in other parts, because we know the same solution doesn't work everywhere and at all the times. We need to identify the local possibilities, potentialities, and work out on that. And in that context, I would like to mention here the one district, one product program by the government of India is a point in the right direction. And if a region has comparative advantage in the production of a particular crop, say for example, Dharwad has been chosen for mango. So how we can use this particular product for increasing the participation of farmers, participation of the processors, and participation of business persons in increasing the production of mango, in preservation of it, in processing of it, and making it available to the consumers at large, and even exporting it also, so that the returns to everyone increases. That way we need to identify the local comparative advantage and work upon it and create all the possible ecosystems. Already we have models, and that is different. And basic models is we need to increase the incentives, incentivize the innovators, incentivize the entrepreneurs by promoting ease of doing business. No, we should not make them to run here and there for a simple permit, for simple license, for simple a license, etc. So it's a single window kind of arrangements could be made, which will help the entrepreneurs to start their business, especially MSMEs. People start MSMEs, but they don't want to grow beyond MSMEs, mainly because after the employment goes beyond 20 or 50, the labor inspector will come and start harassing them. So these kind of restrictions, whatever are there, they need to be eased out for promoting innovation and the entrepreneurship. So the education has to be skill oriented. The government has to spend more on research and development. The private sector has to rope in. And we need to identify the local potentiality and local competitive advantage, and we need to promote entrepreneurship, promote ease of doing business for bringing out more and more entrepreneurship in that particular area locally. I think I have given answers.
Hello, sir. Being employed. So my first question is, why do we need finishing schools separately for developing these skills? Because, for example, if you take any mechanical engineer student, engineering student, even after studying for 4 years, it's a professional degree, considered as professional degree. Even after studying for 4 years, he will be working as a software engineer, but just learning any of the software. Then what about his 4 years of studying? Whether the system, it is a failure of system or it's a failure of student.
Engineering students should study and where they should land up. So always it is a market driven phenomena. Okay. So in the market, whatever is the demand, that gets filled up first. And today in the market, the requirement for IT or software engineers is more. So if you have the minimum skill of mathematical ability, thinking, logical thinking, you will be picked up by the software companies. But today is the requirement of mechanical companies has also come down because of the automation. The earlier, maybe for CAD and CAM, we were requiring 10 to 20 engineers. Today, that job can be done by only one engineer. So there is a shift in the demand pattern for the jobs. So in case of engineers, if they are studying mechanical and joining software jobs, the question of finishing job will not come there. Okay, because that is the basic skill they should know. But the finishing school generally applies to non-engineering and non-medical colleges, where they need better skills for communication, English, computer usage, and other things. Okay, so the question of people studying mechanical and joining software is actually based on the demand in the market.
Sir, actually it was just an example what I gave.
Okay, okay, got it. Then fine. So now I understand his question is, after attending 3 to 4 years of some college education, why we need a finishing school? Actually, again, it is a mismatch in the education system and what the industry wants. So if you ask me, I know some colleges, private colleges, where they have compulsory credit courses called skill course. And they have 2 credits for that course. All the students undergo that course and they are much better than the graduates from the other colleges. So it also again comes back to change in the education policy, where along with math, science, history, English, we also should make skill as a compulsory course that they should undergo. Okay, I think that gives answer.
Thank you.
I will add a little more. You know, right now the state government also has the skill embedded programs. You know, probably all of us are knowing. Apprenticeship embedded program has been implemented with the state government. And NEP 2020 is all about this. You know, for each and every skill, 2 credits was there. Even AI in economics, AI in sociology, AI in history was introduced. Of course, yoga also was introduced. You know, all these type of essential skills which are required for the students was embedded within the system. In case if you could have implemented it successfully, again the question comes, who is teaching AI for economics? Again, if a commerce graduate comes and say, no, I am teaching, whether you are qualified, you know, that's the issue comes. Or the one who is in practice, you know, who is really practicing it comes and teaches. So in case if this mismatch is not there, then yes, that system wonderfully works. Only thing is, as my friend was correctly pointing it out, it's a mismatch. In case if you clearly embedded all these things within the syllabi, then probably no finishing schools is required. That if the finishing schools are there, it means that we are somewhere lagging behind and our syllabi is not, and our curriculum is not appropriate.
The whole problem is, as Professor Keshav was mentioning, when I joined from a course, the situation is different. And when I finished, the situation would have completely changed. That's one. Second is, our instruction is more classroom based. Activity based learning is missing in many of the courses. And because of that reason, we add it as an activity after the course. That's it.
Sir, in addition to that, now coming out with skills on life skills, courses on life skills. So they are available online as well as offline. So MOOCs is the best platform, as it was mentioned by Dr. Deshpande. So now number of courses are available on SWAYAM platform, and there are various other platforms which are offering life skills, so that it gives an opportunity for the learners. So whatever is in our education system, as on today, I cannot change it, but I can acquire skills using various other platforms, again provided by the government, maybe by the institution or other platforms, so that we can enhance our skills. So these are the opportunities that we have. So with this, now we'll come to the next question, please.
Greetings, sir. I welcome all the panelists. They are wonderful. And my name is Rahul. I'm from Karnataka University, Dharwad. My question is that India has been called Vishwaguru from time immemorial. So why not export knowledge? Like knowledge process outsourcing has been a hidden potential area which is not yet exploited by Indians. So what is your take on that? I invite all the panelists to answer my question. Thank you.
Thanks, Rahul. It is a very incisive question. In fact, India was a Vishwaguru, and it is blooming now to be a Vishwaguru. In fact, the question on exporting knowledge is very relevant even today, because as the slides was being shown by Professor M.R. Narayana, India has highest youth population in the world today. Whereas, and moreover, our population growth is still positive. But if you look at population growth of European countries and some American countries, the population growth has turned negative there. And obviously, there are some skills which cannot be taken up by machines or robots. And if we train our youth in such skills, especially the most important skill which I am talking about is hospitality and the care economy, hospitality and care economy. If we train our youth there, we can definitely send our youth throughout the world, and thereby, in one way, reap the demographic dividend more effectively. So we have a lot of potentiality in terms of youth. Giving them proper skills which are needed elsewhere can definitely make the demographic dividend a reality.
So adding to Bagalkoti's statement, right now, Government of India is having this IKS component, Bharatiya Gnana Parampara, wherein they're trying to bring in the best practices which we had in our ancient scriptures and try to focus it on, through a case studies, how it can solve the present problems. Many of the solutions to the present problems were already there. But, unfortunately, we never took pride in saying about our culture, and we have forgotten it long back. Only when the yoga was practiced, even through with the dogs in the US and called it doga, then we started understanding, oh, they are teaching it for dogs, let us now practice yoga. To that extent, our mind has been adulterated. So probably now this is a time, as you rightly pointed out, to have pride in our culture, to have the pride in our knowledge system. And of course, the ambience also should be in such a way that wherein a free flow of ideas from each and every place, as Bagalkoti says again and again, from every region, from every individual, that inclusivity and holistic perspective must be there in the country, so that, each and everybody can contribute. A tribal can contribute his medicine. Now, foreigners are coming and staying in the tribal villages for more than 1 or 2 years and carrying the medicines over there and doing the experiments and giving the same medicines, patenting it there and giving it to us. In case of the Indian knowledge system or the Bharatiya Gnana Parampara is thoroughly explored, thoroughly scientifically, and took the patents and the relevant Indian knowledge system through the IPRs, right, intellectual property rights, then probably, we can also protect and we can also export the knowledge system. Right now, we always keep on saying, India is exporting all IIT graduates, in all majority of the doctors, 25% of the doctors, engineers in the US are Indians. We keep on saying all this. These things will definitely happen when we also patent them and see that, marketed with Make in India brand. Earlier, whenever the products of China, just a decade back, in one of the television programs, I did mention this, which brand of China is more popular. All it is known for a cheap labor and the cheap products, cheap quality products, I meant. But today, that perception is gone, right? They have the better cutting edge experience, cutting edge technology with them. They're brand conscious, and made in China is now a brand. That perception they created, and we can also do that. And the knowledge itself with the Indian brand made in India can be definitely done, and probably that's a good way of thinking also. I appreciate you for thinking on those lines.
Okay. So just to add, you were saying about the knowledge, why not we export knowledge? So basically, thinking in another direction, the IT exports we do is basically the knowledge export. That is they are also called as knowledge workers. So whatever the income we get from the computer knowledge or so that is a sort of knowledge earning only. Okay.
Sir, before we take the next question, I am putting the same question in another way, sir. So the question was on knowledge export. Don't you think that Dr. Gururaj Deshpande, we have exported him to a country, so that itself is a knowledge export? Or can we say that ki Sundar Pichai is also knowledge export? Or a brand of people who are. Now I am coming to the question. This was the base. Hypothetically, practically it is not going to happen. Hypothetically, if all Indian origin IT experts are moving out of USA and coming to India, what would be the fate of that particular country? Will it sustain? Yes or no? This is a hypothetical question. So this is what is the knowledge export that what we have already done, and we have been doing that. So what is your take on this, sir, please? This is a hypothetical thing. Yeah. So again, hypothetically accept that yes, we can. Hypothetically accept that yes, India can. Definitely.
Sir, in that way, IT thing can be done anywhere. Yeah. It need not be done in America or in India or anywhere. So they need not come back to India completely. They can spread out in other parts wherever they're welcome. In that way, I think it's not a big problem. And as you said, whatever number of experts have gone, it's all exports only.
Hope you made that comment in the lighter note. Let us not worry about what will happen to America. We are worried about whether India will become Vikasit Bharat, and I am sticking to that. Let us try to absorb these who are going back now. Whoever has gone is gone. Let us not worry about them. Those who wish to go, let us see that they will not go, and let them all of them get the ambience to work here, so that let our Indian economy absorb all those experts who are just willing to go out now. So that will be the right perspective.
Yeah, next question.
Good noon, sir. My question is relating to the students of these traditional courses. Students are being teaching language, which is the most important skill for everyone. We are teaching, if I take English, we are teaching English from KG to PG. But still, we are not finding a student who is quite good at speaking in English. If we consider this as a mismatch of education, which is really demanded by industrial sectors, what steps the government or the policy makers can do for it? And one more thing, we have been introduced the NEP 2020, and now this has been called as revised NEP or so-called SEP. We, the academicians, feel that these education policies have become policies of political parties or some academicians. So how to accept these? Because in NEP, the student of commerce is not able to study economics, which is quite an important subject. So how can he get good knowledge, and how can he become open for global? This is my question, sir.
Basically, when you were asking the first question, answer was there with that, right? When you were asking that English, when we teach them from KG to PG, or PhD also, in case if you do that. Even then, if you're not finding, then it's a problem with the student as well as the teacher. So most with the teacher, say 80-20, 80 with the teacher, 20% with the students. If teacher is the one, who can inspire a student to become anything, he can also, negatively impact the student. Probably that has been done, especially with the maths as well as English in this country. And now the things are changing to better. So wherein the teachers are also, because, when we speak of the course outcome, probably we should speak of the same terms of the teacher outcome. What is that? Why is that we join our children to the private school? Because, we know that the student and, the teachers who join many of these private schools will be not as qualified as the one who will be in the government schools. But still, the performance of the private school will be much better than the government school. Why? Because, they will be under guard and they will be always seen, what is your performance? How many kids scored what percentage? So probably if we teach about, if you speak of the teacher outcome, fine, 1 year you are there, 2 years you are there, what is the outcome? How many students are placed? What exactly is? In case if my salary and my DA, everything is linked to that, probably even I will also mend my ways and teach properly. So that would be one thing. And the second thing is all about, the point which I missed and Professor Bagalkoti said took it out. And experiential learning, that's the one important thing that which we have to do. And, I really don't want to take much about the NEP and SEP. And that, thing that which you were saying, that can be incorporated in any stream. Because, in case if you find that you should learn economics, commerce students should learn economics, then fine. As a subject, even in the SEP also probably we should demand that we should have that type of opportunity wherein we should be open to learn 2 or 3 papers from the outside stream also. That demand can be done. That's what I strongly feel. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. I have a doubt. May I ask, sir?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, as our Prime Minister says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Yeah, I could see a widening gap between the rich getting richer and poor getting poorer in our economy. And the local entrepreneurs are being suppressed by the giants like Zudio, Trends and all these kind of brands. So how can we fill this gap, sir? Is there any way out?
Yeah, many initiatives are taken by the governments also for that. It is true that the inequality is increasing. And in economics, we teach the Kuznets inverted U hypothesis. In the initial years of the development, inequality increases. After a certain point of time, the inequality keeps on coming. Right now, because we are moving ahead, right, till that benchmark, we reach that benchmark, inequality will definitely increase. That is probably the cost of growth. That's a cost of development right now. And after a certain point, now, look at the number of billionaires in the world. Indian billionaires are increasing, right? And if at all, if you see the number of taxpayers, income taxpayers, that's also gradually increasing. So probably that gap will narrow down. It will take little more time because right now we are picking up. All these years, we were all thinking about the trickle-down effect where that never happened. That failed miserably in India. And right now only we have this dividend from the growth wherein it is trickling down to the lowest level where you are speaking of sabka saath, sabka vishwas, yeah. So all these things is happening because of that inclusivity. Because of that inclusivity aspect only it's happening, and look at the financial inclusion as a role, right? Earlier we were thinking, who will use this technology, even UPA and pay the money, because majority of the Indians are illiterates and more so financial illiterates also are there. We are not speaking of the general illiterates, we are also speaking of the financial illiteracy. And now, each and every vendor is having that machine and everybody is using, almost everybody. It takes little more time, right? It takes little more time, say probably another 10 years from now, that inequality also will reduce, because right now the unemployment is also slightly high. Once this gap, skill, all this which we are speaking from yesterday, if this is properly given to our students and they are skillful and their critical thinking or innovation which we are speaking of, all these things happen, then definitely, yes, this gap will be filled. You will not be pessimistic about that. You can take it, 100% that will happen, that inequality gap will be bridged in this country.
Thank you, sir.
So
So my question is regarding the cooperative federalism. In nowadays, the southern sister states are not happy with the northern mother. That is, the central government is not responding us proper in that manner. They are saying. So we are talking about Viksit Bharat. In this context, how the entire India can go towards the Viksit Bharat along with the help of the southern sisters, because without the southern states, the India cannot become the Viksit one. So that's why in that context, please give me some.
Let us not think that we are going out, we will be left out. That itself is a wrong connotation. Bharat means all the 30 states are Bharat. It is not just southern states or northern states. Say if one of them, one of the brothers or sisters for the mother, if they are ailing, they require a little more funds, right? So all of them should come on par with the development. That is the reason that why, whenever the Finance Commission came into the existence after the Constitution came into effect from 1951 onwards, all these things based on the indicators they are doing, right? Say poverty, income from the maximum level. So all these are the indicators, forest cover, literacy. So all these are the indicators which were taken into consideration. Southern states were relatively better than the northern states. So automatically the funds started dipping. And that doesn't mean that we should be penalized. Again, that shouldn't mean that, okay, because you performed well, you should be penalized. I'm not for it. But only thing is, let us also give a little more room for the northern states to come on par with the southern states, because, say in a family, if one or two brothers is ailing, all the other members of the family will go and take care of that particular members who are ailing. So similarly, the southern states right now are taking care of them, but that doesn't mean at the cost of them. That's why these fellows should become ill health. So give little more time, probably then the things will fall in line. And moreover, right now, in case of Karnataka, when the 15th Finance Commission and the 16th Finance Commission, we lost it around 1%, right? 1%. So that, I also don't agree. At least if they don't increase, let it be on the par with it. If you don't increase from 4.6 to 4.7 is fine, but don't decrease it to 3.6. So that, that all of us will agree. So probably the coming 16th Finance Commission, probably will take note of it and will not penalize any of us. But, one thing, please let all of us Indians take one thing into consideration. We are all, children of the mother Bharat, and, let us not discriminate saying we are North India, there are South India, there are East India. All of us are one, and at least, for the time being, they are getting more, but we should not be penalized for it.
Yeah, nicely answered. In fact, it's not the question of north, south, etc. We are part of one country. And moreover, if you look at the constitutional division of powers, center has some overarching powers like maintaining defense, law and order, foreign policy, macroeconomic policies, etc. And obviously for that, we need to give some credit. Because of those better policies only we are performing well. Maybe there are certain issues like fertility rate, we have fared well, that is okay. But apart from that, we should not feel that we have done excellently, as an island, as independent of all these things. We are part of the whole union, and we have to, as Professor Keshav said, we need to take care of the others who are not performing that very well. And in fact, the Finance Commission has well-established formulae. That the devolution formula has been prepared, they are established, and it is being revised based on the emergent needs. So in that context, we may not be so very well knowledge to comment on those particular issues. But as it is, we are going in a cooperative federalism type of thing, and it will continue. And that's very essential for attaining Viksit Bharat also. And in the days to come, the northern backward states will also progress. It's because of our own contribution, and that will be the Viksit Bharat.
So we'll take one last question. As our chief guest of our valedictory function, Professor Mahadev Prasanna sir, Director IIIT has already arrived. So we'll be starting the valedictory session soon. So this is going to be the last question.
Yes, sir.
Please excuse us because sir will also be focused more on IT-based development, information technology based. Then your questions will be automatically answered, I hope. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. I am thankful for all the panelists who have presenting very nicely, sir. My question is to Professor S.T. Bagalkoti, sir. As we are very curious, not only me, many people are curious about the what will be the, as you are the member of Dr. Govindrao committee, and then yesterday Vishal Rao was also mentioning your name regarding any questions related to regional imbalances. He will discuss with you in that context. Sir, only one curiosity is that, sir, how it will be different from all other committees which have been done in Karnataka as well as outside the Karnataka to address the regional imbalances, and then further, only you were telling at the initially, you were telling that economic constraint or the potentiality of each of the taluks will be addressed. Only economic related indicators are taken into consideration, or the social sector indicators will also be given the importance. Further, some of the things like regional identity, along with that language related thing, attachment with the language. North Karnataka people are attached with that language, and then when you spoke in that language, we spoke in that language in Southern Karnataka, emotionally or whatever it may be, but it hurts a lot when the people joke on the language, when in the movies and in the serials, and along with that, and if you go to government office
Sir,
also.
please come to your question, sir.
Yes,
Please
sir,
come to the question.
Yes, only 2 minutes, sir. In that context, sir, how it will be different from that of all other committee reports? This is the only question, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Let us not be emotional about language.
Okay, not only language, sir, along with that, the rivers, Kannada Nadina Jeevanadi, only the Kaveri people drink, or the Jeevanadi are remaining. No, there are a number of political and this one issues are there. They are also emotionally attached for every human being. Those will be addressed are only indicators.
Please listen to the panelists. Please listen to the panelists.
Own poem, they're using Krishna, Tungabhadra, etc. That's a different thing. Now, as far as the approach of Professor M. Govindra committee is this. In fact, one aspect which the Nanjanabha committee did not have was, they did not distinguish between outcome indicators and input indicators. So what the present committee is doing is, it has identified 3 outcome indicators. One is per capita income, second is human development parameters, third one is level of living. So first we are assessing the level of development of districts and talukas based on these outcome indicators. In the second stage, we are gathering information at the taluka level as far as the inputs are concerned. These inputs are basically infrastructure, connectivity, that is infrastructure. Then infrastructure includes physical connectivity, digital connectivity, health, education, etc. And also some environmental indicators. And what we are trying to do is, trying to link the outcomes with the inputs at taluka level as well as the district level, then identifying because of which input indicator the outcome is the particular thing. And we are trying to assess the gaps. And what to be done to fill this gap. For example, if it is in case of malnourishment, if it is the malnourishment is the problem, what is the extent of malnourishment and how to reduce malnourishment to the average level. That's what the approach is. Similarly, in terms of transport, in terms of education, so all these things we are doing. So we have identified around 50 indicators, left out some indicators like post offices, etc. Added some new indicators on digital connectivity. That is what we have been doing. So this is the broad approach of the Nanjanabha, the Professor M. Govindra committee. Of course, the overall framework is as ordered by Nanjanabha committee only, but some minor modifications are made, and we hope to give more specific recommendations in terms of how much money has to be allocated to what sector, to what taluka. Earlier, the allocation was at the regional level, at the divisional level, which then flowed to taluka level. But now, the allocation will be given at taluka level for specific parameters, and then it will be built up at the state level, at the upper level. We are expecting to go from bottom up rather than coming top down. This is the approach.
With this, now we will be closing this particular session with the conclusion that the debate or the panel discussion on economic growth and global competitive index, we received many questions related to education system, skilling, entrepreneurship development, policy support that is needed, employability of the students, and the focusing on intellectual property rights to the Indian knowledge systems, especially the tribal medicine as mentioned by Dr. Keshav, and there were some issues related to knowledge export also. So these were the things that we discussed, for which it was a very fruitful discussion, that what we can say. So I thank all the 3 panelists. Now, sir, I request you to kindly accept a token of love and respect on behalf of CMDR and CES. So I request Dr. Jaiprabhakar to present memento and Angavastram to our panelist, Professor Bagalkoti, sir, please. Okay, Professor S.R. Keshav, sir. Dr. Shreekanth Deshpande, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for accepting our request and sparing your valuable time to share your insights and inputs with our delegates. Thank you, one and all.